But as they said in their paper, even though they feel it was more likely...
3 days, they figured it out.
That's exactly. You could do that in 3 days. You can scan sequences in a day. You don't need 3 days.
For 5 minutes.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
who's
Doctor,
Robert?
why was it so important that the virus not have started in a lab?
We don't know where it started, and that's the reason why I keep an open mind. So I don't know what you mean by why was it so important. It wasn't important.
Well, you still don't know where it started? The guys you gave money to figured it out in 3 days.
No.
Mr. Anderson said on January 31st, 2020, virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory. The very next day, Dr. Gary said, I don't know how this happens in nature. It'd be easy to do in a lab. And then 3 days later, Shazam, they switch and say it has to be nature. So they figured it out in 3 days, but you still don't know?
No, in fact, if you look at what they were saying, Congressman Jordan, they were saying that it was not a manufactured virus. It still could have evolved out of a lab.
Well, let me read something here to you.
They're not incompatible.
In our study on the censorship of the Biden administration working with big tech, I want to read you a WhatsApp message from Mark Zuckerberg. Can we include that the White House put pressure on us to censor the lab leak theory? So this is a communication on July 16th, 2021. Nick Clegg, Joel Kaplan, Sheryl Sandberg, Mark Zuckerberg. They're certainly feeling the pressure to downplay any lab leak theory and go with the natural origin theory.
Is there a question there?
One's coming. Here's another email to Mark Zuckerberg. It says, subject line, COVID misinformation, Wuhan lab leak theory. In response to continued public pressure and tense conversations with the new administration, we started removing 5 COVID claims, including the lab leak theory. Mr. Zuckerberg responds, this seems like a good reminder that when we compromise our standards due to pressure from an administration in either direction, we often later regret it. Why was it so important the virus not have started in a lab?
Wasn't so important that the virus not. We don't know. We know
it was important to someone in the Biden administration, so much so that the top people at Meta, the top people at Facebook are asking, why are we getting all this pressure to downplay the lab leak theory? And we have an email from June of the same year, June 4th, 2021, saying the same thing. It was certainly important to somebody.
Well, what has that got to do with me?
I'm asking you because you're the expert on the coronavirus. I'm saying why was the administration so pushing not to have the lab leak theory as something that was viable?
I can answer that. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
You kept an open mind. Dr. Fauci, open mind.
That is correct.
What happened in those 3 days? Why did Dr. Anderson and Mr. Anderson and Dr. Gary, why did they change their mind in 180 degrees? Because what Christian Anderson says 3 days later, after he said virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory, 3 days later he says the main crackpot theories going around at the moment relate to this virus being somehow engineered, and that is demonstrably false. How did they figure all that out in 3 days, Dr. Fauci?
You can do that.
You still have an open mind.
Well, what they did is that they testified before this committee. What they did, they went back and looked at the sequences and realized that their initial concern was unfounded about that, and it did not look at all like it was manufactured. But as they said in their paper, even though they feel it was more likely...
3 days, they figured it out.
That's exactly. You could do that in 3 days. You can scan sequences in a day. You don't need 3 days.
Okay, who's Robert Redfield?
The former director of the CDC.
Dr. Redfield, right? And he was also on the coronavirus task force. Is that accurate?
He was a member of the coronavirus task force.
And here's what he said to this committee. He said, Redfield said that Fauci and Collins left him out because Redfield suspected that coronavirus had leaked from the Chinese lab. Is that accurate?
Well, he said that, but that's not true. That is incorrect, Congressman.
Dr. Redfield's lying to the committee when he sat right where you sat?
When he said that I kept him out, that is an incorrect statement. The roster who was on the phone
was Dr. Redfield in that conference call on February 1st when you had Mr. Anderson and Dr. Gary on that call?
He was not, and the conference call was put together by Jeremy Farrar.
A congressional hearing took a dramatic turn when Congressman Jim Jordan pressed Dr. Anthony Fauci on some of the most controversial questions surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Jordan challenged Fauci over the origins of the virus, the handling of the Wuhan lab leak theory, alleged government pressure on social media platforms, and U.S. research funding connected to Wuhan. Fauci firmly rejected claims that he helped suppress debate or influence scientific conclusions. Here's what unfolded during the hearing. Jim Jordan opened by asking why the possibility that COVID-19 originated in a laboratory appeared to be dismissed so quickly during the early months of the pandemic. Fauci responded that he has never ruled out any possible origin and maintained that the scientific community has continued to investigate both natural transmission and a potential laboratory accident. Jordan then cited early emails exchanged among leading scientists in 2020. According to him, several researchers initially expressed concern that the virus appeared inconsistent with natural evolution before later publishing conclusions favoring a natural origin. Jordan questioned what caused such a rapid change in opinion and suggested Americans deserve a clearer explanation. The hearing intensified when Jordan shifted to internal communications from Meta. He referenced emails indicating company officials discussed pressure from the Biden administration regarding COVID-19 content, including posts discussing the Wuhan lab leak theory. Jordan argued the communications suggested government officials encouraged social media companies to limit certain viewpoints during the pandemic. Fauci denied playing any role in influencing content moderation decisions, stating that he never directed social media companies to suppress discussion about the virus's origins and remained focused on scientific research rather than online censorship. If you're enjoying this coverage, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest moments from Capitol Hill.
So no one kept him out. He said he was kept out because he felt...
Did U.S. tax dollars...
You want me to answer the question?
Yeah, I would just wonder why he wasn't on the call. It seems to me the head of CDC, part of the coronavirus task force, which was formed 2 days prior to that call, would have been on the call.
Well, the call was arranged by Jeremy Farrar. You should ask him.
Okay. Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
I'm sorry, what was...
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
Yes, of course. It was a sub-award to the Wuhan Institute.
And who approved that award?
Excuse me?
And who approved that award? What agency approved that award?
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Your agency approved that, right?
Yes, it did after...
Did that have anything to do with this downplaying of the lab leak theory?
No.
Nothing to do with it?
Nothing.
What, do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
But look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
All right, I yield back.
Jordan then turned the discussion to federal research funding. He referenced testimony from former CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield, who previously said he believed the virus may have originated from a laboratory and claimed he was excluded from key early discussions. Fauci rejected that characterization, explaining that he did not organize the scientific conference call in question and denied intentionally leaving anyone out because of differing opinions. Jordan also questioned Fauci about National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases grants that went to EcoHealth Alliance, which later provided funding to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Fauci acknowledged the funding relationship but insisted the grants were for legitimate scientific research and denied they were connected to any effort to discourage discussion of the lab leak theory. Jordan argued that many Americans continue to question those explanations and believe greater transparency is still needed. As the exchange came to a close, both men stood firmly by their positions. Jordan argued that newly released emails, internal communications, and testimony from former officials raised significant questions about how the lab leak theory was treated during the pandemic. Fauci responded that scientific understanding evolved as more evidence became available and reiterated that he has never attempted to silence legitimate scientific debate or influence conclusions about COVID-19's origins. The sharp exchange underscored how the debate over the pandemic's beginnings, and the government's response, continues years after COVID-19 first emerged. The hearing highlighted the ongoing divisions over one of the most consequential public health issues in recent history. Jim Jordan questioned whether key information about the virus's origins was dismissed too quickly and whether government officials influenced both scientific discussion and online debate. Dr. Fauci maintained that he acted based on the scientific evidence available at the time, denied participating in any censorship efforts, and defended the research funding decisions made under his leadership. With questions about COVID-19's origins still being debated, the exchange became one of the most closely watched moments of the hearing. What do you think? Did Jim Jordan raise important concerns, or do you agree with Dr. Fauci's responses? Share your thoughts in the comments below.